Hello everyone, welcome back to the third part. In the first part, we have designed this particular website in the for the desktop, and in the second part, we have designed the mobile website of the same. And in this part, we are going to make this entire design in HTML and CSS. Okay. So before we begin, let's just see what we are looking at. So you can look at this particular website. So this is how our website looks. So basically there is a nav bar with a logo and nav items. Then there is a center hero image, then one heading, paragraph, a button, and a footer at the end. Okay. And you can see there was a animation at the beginning, and along with that we also have a mobile version of the same. Okay, so let's see that also. And this is how the mobile version of the same website looks. So you can see there is a nice little drop down menu. Okay, so now we are going to implement this using HTML and CSS. Okay, so let's begin. So I have Visual Studio Code open over here. I will create a new folder for my design. Okay, so let's call it bookshelf. Okay, so let's open that folder. So you can see right now the folder is completely empty. Let's start with index.html. Okay, so this is going to be our page where all our elements is going to be there. Then I also need to have a CSS folder. Okay, so here I am going to have let's call it styles.css. Okay, so this is my CSS. Right, let's come back to our HTML file, add a little bit of starting code, and here I can say bookshelf. Let's set the title as bookshelf. Then let's include our CSS, and that includes our CSS over here. Okay, so now let's see how the page looks. Right now obviously there is nothing, but let's bring it to the side. I have the live server plugin running in Visual Studio Code, so that when whatever changes I do in Visual Studio Code will be immediately reflected on the right side. Okay, so on the right side I will be looking at what the design is coming up, and on the left side is where all the coding is going to happen. Okay, so let's begin. So first of all, let's begin by finding out what all are the elements of our HTML page. Okay, so let's open up Figma and let's come to our design page and let's see. So first of all, basically we have to design any page based on how many boxes there are. Okay, so you can see directly by just looking at it, the nav bar has one big box. Sorry, so this will be our nav bar. Okay, inside that nav bar there are two elements. So the first element is, first part is this logo part, and the second part is the nav items. Okay, so this entire nav menu is going to be the second part. Inside the nav menu also you will be having different nav items. Okay, so this is one nav item, so like that you have five more. Okay, so this is let's design this first. Okay, so to design that, let's first add a class called, let's say, header. Okay, so let's add a header tag, and inside the header we will have, let's add something called as logo, right? Then inside logo we will just have bookshelf. Okay, now if you look at the way this is done, the book book part is having a different color and shelf is having a different color. Okay, so if I write it like this in single text, then I cannot color it separately. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to uh, add a span tag over here. Okay, and I will put book inside the span tag. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to color the logo, the entire logo, as this white color, of white color, and then I'm going to target the span and set the span as yellow. Okay, so that way I will get the logo part. Okay, so once I have the logo part ready, then I will add the nav. Okay, so let's use a semantic tag nav. Inside this nav I will have ul and unordered list. Inside that I will have an li, and because it's going to be a link, it's better I put a link tag. And I'm going to put hash because I'm not going to design all the other pages, so it is just going to be this page. So I'm just putting it hash over here, and then this will be home. Okay, so this is home. Now I will duplicate this li's. Okay, so instead of taking it a different line, I would prefer to put it in a single line. And now I will duplicate this 6 times. Okay, so first one is home, the second one is books, the third one is search, store, and contact. Okay, so that is my header part. Header part is done. Let's come back, and this part is going to be my main content. So let's add a semantic tag called main. So this main tag, you can see the first element is image, right? So we can use, let's say, dot hero. Okay, so let's call it hero image, and let's add an image tag, which now obviously this graphics I am not having right now. So let's export this. Okay, so let's right click and sorry, just select it, go to design and come down. You will see this export option. Select export and select SVG as the format. Okay, so that is the best format because this is a illustration, not a image. Okay, so I can select that, and now I can come to my bookshelf page, create a new folder called images, and export this entire content as, let's say, hero.svg. Okay, so I will save it in that file, and now I can come back over here and let's call it images hero.svg. Okay, so I've added this. Next, I want an h1 tag, which is going to be, we'll just copy the contents from here. Then I have a paragraph tag, which is going to be lorem 50. Okay, so I have that ready. Then I have a button. Okay, so let's call it button. Okay, and the button will have the text begin now, and let's give it a class, and let's give the class primary button. Okay, so this is going to be our class, and that's it for our main content. Now only thing left is our footer. Okay, so the footer is pretty simple. There is nothing much in footer. I will just add the text, and that's it. So we have our all the elements set, and you can see this is how it looks. Okay, obviously we have not yet styled it, that's why it is not looking the way it should look. So let's go ahead and start styling. Okay, so let's switch to CSS, and let's first add some common resets. Okay, so I have selected all the elements and set the margin to 0. and box sizing to 0. I will remove this particular line padding. Okay, so now let's first set the body. Okay, so let's select body and set the color of the body to the color that we have selected. Okay, so let's select this and go to inspect, and you can see the style that we are going to have. Okay, so this is the style we are going to have, and as soon as I save it, you can see it starts looking somewhat like, the at least the background color is now matching. Okay, now the next thing that I should do is, let's go back to our design. Okay, so let's start designing our nav bar. Okay, so for the nav bar, let's switch to our HTML, and you can see the nav bar is inside. Sorry, so the nav bar is inside the header. So the header part consists of two items, the logo and the nav. Okay, so let's style the header now. So let's select header, and so the first thing that I should do is I want the elements to be, right now they are block level elements, so I want them to be side by side. Okay, so I can use display flex, and as soon as I do that, you can see now they both come next to each other. Right now I want the bookshelf to be on this side, that means on the left side, and the nav items to be on the right side. Okay, so for that I can simply do justify content, and I can do space between, and I think that will do the job. Right, okay, so I have that, and I get the result perfectly. Right now I want, if you look at the Figma design, you can see the the header is around 40 pixels down. Okay, so it starts 40 pixels down, so we can uh, add a margin top of 40 pixels. Okay, and let's save it, and you can see this is how it looks right now. Okay, we may tweak it a little later, but right now let it be in this format. Okay, and also if you come back to the Figma design, you can see on the left and right there are a little bit of space. Okay, so what I can do is I can add a little bit of padding. So padding top and bottom 0, and left and right, let's say 20 pixels I will add, and now it comes a little inside. Okay, so if I want, I think we can increase it a little more. 40 pixels is better. Okay, so that's it. Next we want to set the color. Okay, so now if you look at the entire website, the majority of the places you will see this light white color. Okay, so that is the color that we have used throughout the page. Okay, so you can look at the nav items, everything has, this particular color applied. So we will do one thing, we will set this color to the body element so that all the elements have that particular color. Okay, so let's check this out. Okay, so now it's looking much better. Right, next we would like to target the header logo. Okay, so now the logo, we are going to style the logo now. Okay, so now if you look at it, everywhere we have the font Prata set. Okay, so everywhere we can see the font is Prata. So first step would be to first bring in the font. Okay, so let's bring in the font. Let's go to fonts.google.com and search for Prata, and this is the website. This is the font. You can select the style and go to embed, and you can see this is the code that we need to add to embed it. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code, go to index.html, and below the, sorry, above the CSS styles, I can just add the new font. Okay, so once the font is added, now I can come back and set the font family. Okay, so I can copy that, and in the body itself I can just set either in the body or over here you can set the font to be font of all the elements to be this. Okay, so as soon as I do that, you can see now this is what I get. Okay, next I would like to find out what is the size of the font. So you can see the font size and line height, everything is mentioned over here. So let's select these things and come to our logo and set it, and let's save it, and you get our logo. Okay, now obviously this color is yet to be set, so let's now target the span. Okay, so in the span I will have to simply change the color. Okay, so there is no much difference. So if I come over here, so you can see the color is this. Okay, so this is the color that I've set. So let's come over here and set the color, and that's it, I think. Yes, so I have the logo all set, and now we can target the nav bar. Okay, so let's target the nav items, basically the menu. So let's come over here. The menu is inside this element that is nav. Okay, so let's target that. It's nav, and inside that you have a UL. Okay, so let's first set the list style to be none. Okay, so that this dot that is coming in front of it, that can be removed. As soon as I save it, now you can see that dot is gone. Now LIs are by default block level elements. So if I want to uh, remove that, I can again use a flex box over here. So display flex. As soon as I do that, now you can see everything turns out to be next to each other. Okay, now obviously it's very difficult to see right now, so let's target that first. So I have a nav, I have UL, inside that I have LI, and inside that there is an anchor tag. Okay, so this purple color is because of that anchor tag. Okay, so just let me just show you. So there is a nav, inside that UL, inside that there is an LI, and then there are anchor tags. Okay, so this anchor tags is creating that problem. So let's use the same color of the body and paste it over here, and now it is visible, right? Now another thing that you will see is there is an underline in all of them. So let's remove that now. Okay, so I can do text decoration, none, and now that is also gone, right? Next I would like to do is I would like to add a little bit of padding in the, I would like to add a little bit of padding. Okay, so let's target, let's see where I can put, let's check LI. Okay, so let's put it in LI and see if it works. Let's add padding, top and bottom 0 pixels, and left and right let's set a minimum padding of 20 pixels. Okay, so that will give me something like this. Okay, now now obviously this is the bookshelf right now over here, and the nav items are little not in the proper place. Okay, so you can see it is just a little bit on top. Okay, so let's inspect it and see what is happening. So if you look at the UL, till UL everything is fine, but if you look at the nav, the height of nav is this much. Okay, so uh, and you want to bring the contents that are inside, that is this, to the center, right? So you can go to the nav. Okay, so right now we don't have anything as nav, so let's target nav, and I will do display flex, and I will do align items center, center. Okay, so when I do that, now you can see it is also vertically centered. Okay, so now once this is done, now our part is done. That means our nav menu is done. Now I also want the home to be highlighted in a separate way. So let's come to home, and let's call this, let's give the active li to have a class active. Okay, so this is the page that we are currently working on. Okay, so we have given a class called active. Now let us come to the style, and let's come down, and let's say nav, sorry, nav, or we don't have to target entire thing. So li dot active. So that li which is active, inside that we have an anchor tag, and we can say border bottom, let's say 5 pixels, solid, and this color. Okay, so this is the color that we have used, and save it. And I think it is okay. No, I think I have made it a bit too much, too thick. Okay, so I will save it, and now it's fine. Okay, so that's it. We have created our header part perfectly. Let's see if it scales properly. So you can see it scales properly. Okay, next we will work on the main content. Okay, so let's add a comment and say the main content. Okay, so the main content is inside this particular tag, that is main. Okay, so let's target that first, main. And obviously I want everything in the center, and it should be centered in the page as well. Okay, so for that the best thing to do will be flexbox. Okay, so display flex, and I can do flex direction. Now by default, if I save this, you can see everything comes next to each other, but that is not what I want. So I just have to change the flex direction from row um, to column. Okay, so my flex direction will now be something like this. Okay, uh, now I have this, everything is proper. Now if you look at the button, now the button is stretching completely. Okay, that is because I have added a button directly inside this. Okay, so what I should have done is I should remove this button from here, add a div, and inside the div I should add a button. Okay, so now if you see, now you have the button perfect. Okay, so mm, I could have added, yeah, that's fine. I'm having a div, inside that I'm having a button. Okay, so next let's center everything out. Okay, so I will do justify content center. Okay, uh, and okay, so that did not work. Oh yeah, because it's uh, flex direction is column, so justify content center will not, will center it vertically, right? But it is not centering vertically also, that we will see, because that is because the body is not having enough height. Okay, let me show you. If I inspect, and let me just bring it, dock it outside. Okay, and you can see currently the height of the body itself is very small. Okay, it's not taking the entire space. Okay, so we have to change the height of the body. So let's come to the body part and let's set the height of the body. Let's set the minimum height of the body. Okay, so minimum height of the body should be, let's suppose we set 100 VH. Okay, so 100% of viewport height. If I set this, let, uh, let's see what happens. Okay, so the body height is 100 VH. Okay, so it's okay, it's working. It has taken up the space, but you know what's happening, you can see the scroll bar is coming. Okay, that means I have exceeded the space required. Okay, so that means let us check out what exactly is happening. So you can see the body element starts little lower than the actual content size. Okay, so you can see there is a little bit of gap over here. That is because for the header you have added a margin top. Okay, so there are two ways to resolve this. One is not to use margin, and instead of margin you can use padding top. Okay, or what you can do is you can use a calc function and calculate, subtract this extra 40 pixels that you have added. Okay, so let's use the calc function. Okay, and calc function you can use to subtract different types of different measurement units. So you can see I'm using, at one place I'm using 100 viewport height, and I know I'm bringing down the nav bar 40 pixels down because of this particular thing, right? So I can just subtract that from here, 40 pixels. Okay, so that should adjust the size, I think. Let's save it and see. Yes, okay, so that handles that part very well. So now you can see the scroll bar is gone, so it is handling it perfectly. Now let's come down and see what is the next problem, that why this is not centering, the main content is not centering. Okay, so you can see the main content now. So the main content, again, the main content we have applied a flex box, but the main content itself is not having enough height. Okay, so it is only having the height which you have specified, right? Now to handle that, obviously you can again use the same logic. Okay, so you can come over here. I can say min height of calc, and I can say 100 viewport height, and I want to remove this entire part, that is uh, this navbar element. So let's find out how much is the entire header. Okay, so what is the size? The header size is around 49 pixels. Okay, so you can see from the what do you say, from the browser debug tool, the header size is 49 plus the margin top, that is around 40 pixels, right? So that comes out to be around 89 pixels, right? So I have to subtract 89 pixels from here, right? So there has to be a space in between, otherwise it will not work. Okay, between the minus and the parameters, right? So now I'm subtracting the the 89 pixels of the header. I may have to subtract the footer size also, but since we have not designed it yet, so I'm skipping that part. Now save it, and now you can see it comes to the center. Okay, but now the scroll bar appears again. Okay, so let's see what is the problem. So let's go back to main, and okay, I think the problem is we have not yet designed the footer. So the footer is going down. Okay, so let's that the scroll bar we will handle it once we design the footer. Okay, so you can see the footer is taking that much space, so that's why it is going down, that scroll bar is coming. Okay, so we will have to add the size of the footer also to the end, but that we will do once we reach that particular part. Okay, so now we can see the center content is aligned vertically centered. Now we want it horizontally centered also. So for that, I will do align items center, and that brings everything to the center. Okay. Now the next thing that I want is, I don't want the text to be, to be so close to the content, right? So in fact, I can add a padding, overall padding, so that everything shifts a little inside. So I can say 1 em padding all around. Okay, then I don't like the way the text is showing it over here. Okay, so let's target that. So main paragraph, and let's set the paragraph. So let's align. So text align justify. Okay, so let's justify the text, and I think this is fine. This is looking better. Justified text looks better. Now let's come back, and you can see between the paragraph and the header there is a gap, and in our case there is no gap. Let's come back, and you can see there is very little gap. So we can add a margin top of, let's say, 20 pixels, and that gives us that gap that was required. Okay, next let's check out the size of the image. I think the size of the image is okay. I think text align center will be better. Let's, instead of justify, I think we have used center in our Figma design also. Yes, so we will use center, and now let's resize and find out. Okay, so this is much better. Okay, next I would like to design the buttons. Okay, so the last second last part is the button. So let's target the primary button. So let's come down. Sorry, it's a class, so I have to use a dot and primary button. So designing the button is very simple. I have already designed everything over here. So I just have to double click, select, and I can select these two elements. Okay, so that will give me that color. Okay, next I want the text. Okay, so let's switch to the text and select everything from here and come down and set the text styles. Okay, save it and see. Okay, it somewhat looks like our button. Okay, but lot more corrections needs to be done. Okay, next let us see what all things are left. Okay, so now you can see these things that we have copied from the Figma is not required, because we are not using flexbox inside this, so we can avoid that. Okay, and this is how it looks right now. Now the button does not look the same that was there in Figma. Okay, so that is because there is a padding all around, right? So let's add that padding. Okay, so padding of 1 em. I think this will be too much, but let's see first. Okay, so this is too much, so let's add top and bottom 0.5 em, and I think 1 EM would be perfect. Next, I will like to add a margin top of 20 pixels so that it creates a separation between the paragraph and this. Okay. And let me think now. Okay, so let's inspect and find out. Okay, so the problem is with the, you can see the font is little towards the top. That's why, you know, it is looking a little bit of uneven. So what we can do is we can change the padding. We can make the padding also uneven. So let's try that. There are multiple solutions to this, but let's try uneven padding. Okay, so first is top. So top is 0.5, then left 1 em, then bottom, let's say 0.3 and 1 em. Okay, so if I do this, forgot to add the, you know, em. Okay, so now it looks much better. Okay, so this is our button now. So we have designed the button. Now I think the image is a bit too big for our choice. Okay, so we can reduce the size of the image a little. So let's come down and select the main, and what was the, so it is in a class called hero image. Okay, so I can say width is, let's say, 80%, and now the width is 80%. Now I can select the, main content, and now you can see it is slightly offset. That is because I can now do text align center and bring it to the center. Okay, now this 80% itself is a bit too big, so I will go for 70%. Oh, sorry, I forgot to add the img tag, so I have to change the size of the img, not the div. Okay, so now you can see now the image is much better. The size is small. Okay, so 80% looks okay. So now let's increase the size. Okay, so this looks proper. Okay, so I think this is good enough, right? Okay, so only part left is to design the footer. Okay, so let's go to the footer part. So that is inside the tag called footer, and I want to design the footer, and let's see what the footer is and how it looks. So all I have to do for the footer to work is just do a text align center, and that should give me my footer to the center. Okay, I would also like to have a padding top and bottom of 5 pixels. Okay, and that's it. Let's add that, and this is perfect. Now I just have to find out what is the final height of everything. So the footer height comes out to be 32 pixels. Okay, so you can see 22 is the size height of the footer, plus 5 padding on top, 5 padding on bottom. So that means it total height becomes 32 pixels. Okay, so once I have that, once I know that this is the height of the uh, footer, now I can readjust my main element. Okay, so that this scroll bar is gone. Okay, so now I have subtracted 89. So I have to I can use the, I'm very bad at calculations, so I can use the calculator to add 89 plus 32. That gives me 121 pixels. Okay, so I can subtract now 121 pixels. So total. So now you can see everything works perfectly. So now that scroll bar is also gone, and you have the image all set. Okay, so you can see a completely fluid design. Everything works. Okay, now we may have to design separately for such lower resolutions, because we have designed a separate uh, design for lower resolution devices like mobile phones. So what we are going to do in the next part is, once it reaches at least at this particular point, it should change the look and feel slightly. Okay, so that it can be viewed on a mobile phone also. So few changes that we are going to do is, we are going to remove this navbar and replace it with a hamburger symbol. Then we are going to reduce the size of the button, which is right now very big. And we may even change the size of the image also, if possible. Okay, and we are also going to change the size of the logo. Okay, so that is it for this part. Okay, so in the last part, that is maybe the last part. Okay, there we will make this template for our mobile website. Okay, so we have completed this particular design. Now we have to do this in the next part. Okay, so see you in the next video.